Well, hey, everybody, glad to be back with you again, and have another special guest that I'm super excited to talk to today. Rica Elysée is a founder, CEO, and speaker building at the intersection of beauty, technology, and community-powered impact. She's the founder of BeautyLynk, a tech-enabled platform expanding access to on-demand, on-location beauty services, bringing professional glam to clients while creating stronger, more reliable earning pathways for beauty professionals. She's also the co-creator of Care in the Chair, an initiative that trains beauty professionals to recognize signs of domestic violence and human trafficking and connect clients to resources safely, helping turn everyday beauty spaces into safer community touchpoints. Across ventures, including prior smart retail pilots through Slay, Rica speaks on inclusive innovation, marketplace growth, AI and beauty, trust and safety, and community-driven entrepreneurship, with a global lens spanning Boston, Tulsa, and beyond. So, Rica, thanks so much for being with us today.
No, thank you, Chris. I'm really excited to be here today.
And I think we connected on LinkedIn, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm not 100% sure, honestly. But I loved hearing your story when you connect with me about the podcast. So I'm excited about this. So before we actually jump into our topic today, why don't you tell us about your entrepreneurial journey? Like, what inspired you to create BeautyLynk and the Care in the Chair framework, and how has all this, affected your understanding of leadership and how has that evolved along the way?
Yeah, for sure. So I had a disabled family member that needed a ponytail, and that led me to asking a hairstylist to come to the house. She just
Okay.
had open heart surgery, and I was like, "Hey, I'm not sure if you do this, but can you make a house call?" And it all came together. I was like, "Okay, wow, okay." Came to the house, did it. And in order to give that person independence, I built out a WordPress site and was like, hey, it's connected to this beauty pro that came to do your hair. Feel free to use it. What ended up happening was that it wasn't just her using it, it was other people finding it via SEO.
Oh, wow.
And we were doing weddings and we were doing other things just by building a WordPress site. Um, and that led to, okay, the WordPress site is limited. What can I do in order to do more?
Hmm.
And we went from one beauty pro to 10 beauty pros to 16,000 beauty pros across the US.
Oh, my gosh.
Um, we've been able to make 180 markets bookable with beauty pros. So it's been really interesting, but
Hmm.
it all started with a ponytail.
That-
And
That's quite the story right there, isn't it?
yeah, I mean, the fun part for me was that I was working in prostate cancer at the time. So I went
Okay.
from balls to blow dryers pretty quickly. Um, and so it was like, oh, wow, okay, I can do this. But something that became more clear to me was being able to listen
Hmm.
and taking that skill and using that to scale not only the experiences for the customers and the pros, but to dive deeper into the industry, which led to the framework for Care in the Chair. We were finding out that a lot of the beauty pros we were working with were taking in secondary trauma from the stories they were hearing from their clients.
Oh, wow.
And we were like, oh, wow, like, why are you so trusted?
Hmm.
And then we realized people see their beauty professionals more than they see their doctor. So they get to recognize what the signs are and what traumas they're actually going through way
Hmm.
before anybody else can.
Well, and it seems like those conversations when you're in the chair, it's almost like a therapy session, just of conversation a lot of times, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And the scary part and the reason why we built the framework was that a lot of beauty professionals didn't know how to react
Hmm.
or how to keep themselves safe and
Hmm.
provide resources. And it made us realize that there is this front line that is untrained
Hmm.
in order to be supportive of really changing the violence. And we were like, okay, there's domestic violence that you're dealing with. there's sex trafficking, you know what I mean? There's child
Hmm.
abuse, there's all these things that they're seeing, but they don't know how to react to them or prepare
Hmm.
their spaces to provide resources.
Hmm.
And those were the things that we were like, okay, we can do something about this. So I was
Hmm.
able to collaborate with a PhD psychiatrist friend of mine, and we built the framework in order to teach beauty pros how to have the conversations and keep themselves safe.
Hmm.
And now we're diving in even deeper to try to think about what does it mean for them to understand secondary trauma and how
Hmm.
to build boundaries
Hmm.
before that happens.
Hmm. Now that's awesome because I think, just like you're saying, like the stylists, they go to school to learn how to do hair and to do all the cosmetics and everything, right? But they're not trained in the psychology that a therapist is, right? Or a counselor. And yet that's the kind of conversations that so many, it sounds like, end up having. And then, like you said, they don't know how to actually deal with that personally as well as facilitate the conversation in a positive way.
Yeah, for sure. And it's
Wow.
been something that's been really rewarding to watch these beauty pros get trained. So we've trained in New York and London, Boston, and now we're excited about being able to go into other markets, but
Mm,
we're also looking at what does it mean to make it scalable and virtual.
mm,
So that way more pros can take the training that they're looking for
yeah.
without having to push us into
Hmm.
becoming what is it when like we're not a carnival act, right?
Right.
So we're not going to go from city to city in order to make this happen. We
Right.
just need to be able to figure out something that's sustainable and thoughtful. But
Hmm.
because the content is so sensitive,
Hmm.
we've been really, really intentional about what it needs to look like.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That makes total sense. So, one of the things that I think you describe with your leadership philosophy is it's about serving community first and then treating beauty professionals as partners rather than inventory. So, you explain a little bit like, why the care in the chair framework came about, but how has the mindset of how you engage with them as partners shaped the company culture that you're building and how you engage with them?
Well, the fun part about being in a economy where everybody understands what Uber is now. When we
Hmm.
started the company, we were always like, yeah, we're the Uber for beauty.
Okay.
But the relationships that were established at the beginning are still the relationships that still exist, right? So there's a level of loyalty. It's not about getting off the platform. A customer
Hmm.
may try to take someone off the platform, but because the relationship was established between myself and a pro, and we have, personal acumen with each other, like,
Hmm.
hey, how's your daughter doing? Oh, yeah, she's in college. Da, da, da. We have these personal relationships
Yeah.
and an understanding of what the industry looks like, how much I can actually give them, what I can't give
Hmm.
them. It's been a really excellent lesson at being able to understand what it means to be a servant leader
Mm,
versus looking at it just from the perspective of corporate,
mhm,
right? So a lot of the reason why we're able to make the revenues that we make is because I understand the sacrifice,
mhm,
right? Leaders eat last. When I
mhm.
first started, it wasn't about me. It was
Yeah.
about the pro. And even if it meant that I had to go deliver the payment in cash to their house because they couldn't wait for a digital payment,
Mhm,
I was making that sacrifice. And I
mm.
was making that partnership really clear that this is paramount. This is important, not the other side of it.
So the terms that I think are commonly spoken that I feel like you're talking about is that it's the difference between transactional and transformational.
Mhm.
And therefore the transactional piece, yes, there's money exchanging hands, there's training, there's deliverables on one side of it, right? But it's the relationships and the connection that you're talking about that make the difference for the transformation and the ongoing trust building. So that's really powerful. And I think a lot of leaders it that can get lost, I guess, if you're not careful, right? You're getting so much into the numbers and just the business economics of things, which makes sense and is needed, but keeping those relationships strong, especially when there's so many options out in the world today, right? That people can just go online and look for all sorts of options. How do you, basically find and keep your partners and your as customers and clients? That's a powerful thing. Um, but so that kind of pivots me to the something that was really intriguing to me, Rica, is I think in your story that there was a point when venture capital conversations stalled, and many companies might have viewed that as a setback, but instead you just chose a different direction. So walk us through that decision and what it taught you about leading with conviction instead of following conventional wisdom.
Yeah, the fun part about being one of the companies that have come out from, accelerators and getting access to networks is that venture started to become a thing. I
Hmm.
was like, "Oh, okay, maybe this is a thing. Maybe I should consider this." But also diving into that community, I've realized that a lot of the businesses that were venture backed never had revenues. Didn't
Mm,
even understand what it meant to have revenues. And, I was like, okay, I can't really speak about revenue as being my superpower because that's not what venture really cares about.
mm,
Venture cares about becoming that billion-dollar company right away, and that you're going to be able to figure it out by taking in these dollars.
mhm,
And being in communities in which aren't necessarily always looked at by venture made it a bit challenging, right? So I felt like I had a double whammy. I'm a Black woman. I was like, okay, this is going to be tough, right? Less than 2% goes to women,
yeah.
less than 0.5 goes to Black individuals. So looking at it from that lens, I was like, okay, I could build these relationships. I can really think through this, but I can also understand what works for venture and what doesn't after, pushing through it for a while. So yes,
Mhm,
I did not get a conventional backing from venture, but I did get great supports from other organizations. Like I have been backed by Morgan Stanley, the Mass Challenges of the world, a couple of great angels. But I also had to think about it in the sense of, is this the right place to go?
mhm,
Right? Because the moment you start taking in venture and making it part of your structure, right, it changes your leadership.
mm,
It changes the organic culture that you're building at your company because
mhm,
you're no longer driven on building
yeah.
this human centric ideal of a
Mhm,
company. You're now driven on, we took in $10 million and we need to be able to return $100 million.
mhm,
What does that look like? How do we get there?
yeah.
And if we can't get there within the 5 to 7 year period, are we okay with closing?
Mhm,
Right. And I've seen several of my friends close their companies. It's really disheartening, but it also makes me think back about, maybe I made the right decision, or maybe it was the right thing not to take in,
mm,
a high level of venture,
mhm,
but also understand that my business can make money, still be
mm,
large without venture.
yeah.
Right. So, what's more important to me, making change in the world or money?
Mhm,
Right. And so it's one of those things. And the critical moment for us for venture and looking into it and thinking about it was when COVID hit.
mm,
And when COVID hit, the beauty industry got hit hard
yeah.
because we couldn't be
Mhm,
physically out. And I had to make the hard decision of like, I would prefer the pros to be safe
mhm,
than I would prefer to make revenue.
mhm,
So if it means that they can't go out for these appointments,
mm,
so be it.
yeah. Well, and the other thing that as you're talking, I'm thinking about too is, like you said, how it changes your leadership style. One is who you're answering to, right? Is, when there's an expectation of multiplying that investment and you have to hit certain dollar numbers and figures, which makes total sense based on the business model, it does ultimately affect how you have to operate the business to get there. And when you didn't go down that path, it gave you more freedom and flexibility to lead in the way you wanted to. It sounds like that maybe you didn't see it that way up front, but it probably became obvious as you went down the road, I would assume. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely correct. I had like this misconception before that venture was everything that I needed in order to be the best leader and to be
Mhm.
the best company. But as time pushed forward and I had to think more about my ethics and my belief system,
Mhm.
I realized it wasn't necessary in order for me to
Mhm.
continue building the company I wanted to see.
Mm. So one thing that I love about your story, like you talk about your scaling and your expansion, and one of my favorite books in the past year has been The Science of Scaling by Dr. Benjamin Hardy. I don't know if you've read that or seen that out there. Um, Phenomenal book, and he talks about how compressing 10-year goals down into 2 to 3 year goals and what it does to force the path to get there to be different than maybe what you think you can have over the course of a decade. So when you talk about having 180 markets, what practical leadership behaviors helped build the trust and consistency to make that kind of growth and scale possible? Because I think about it this way, it's when you go into like a franchise model where you go from city to city or even across the world, and you expect McDonald's to feel a certain way, or another brand to be, wherever you go, right, you expect it to feel the same way as back home, for instance. So how have you led to keep a consistency for your brand and what you're doing with all this?
You know, the fun part about building from scratch is that you understand what it takes to build on paper before you can build on technology, right?
Mm,
So a lot of the manual processes that we were able to master before we automated
mhm,
led to a great streamlined automation process.
mm,
And from there, we've been able to build systems that support that. And with AI being what it is now,
mhm,
right? I'm able to just say, hey, we're going to launch into Dubai and take the books based off of how we did it in Atlanta or how we did it in Boston or how and continue
mhm,
that path forward to make more markets available. But, at the same time, creating limits around it as well.
mhm,
Right. So whenever I think about a company who's like, yeah, we're ready to scale, we want to do this, 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 and this, we want to be available to the world now. I always ask them, how many customers have you had in this one city in order to make you decide that you're ready for the world?
mm,
Right? What does that look like? Because
yeah,
every single time we decided to go into a new market, we've always been able to bring in anywhere between 3 to 500 um, intake, right?
wow,
Into every city that we're going into, right?
mhm,
So you're like, okay, what is it? And I'm like, I remember the first time we hit over 1,000 customers reaching out to us for services,
wow,
but we had to build up to that point,
yeah,
right? And so right now, the fun part for us is that we're not using the same metrics and we're
mhm,
going into smaller markets. So instead of looking at the A cities, right, we're looking at beauty deserts. We're looking at individuals who are driving anywhere between 10 to 20 miles in order
okay,
to get beauty services, right? Okay, what does that mean? We may not be booked as often, but it means we have deeper penetration,
mhm,
right? And it means that the pros that are in the main cities now get access to this new environment that's close by.
mhm,
So let's continue to dig deep.
mm,
And, it's been rewarding to watch and build.
mhm,
But if I had to say any of the mistakes that I made initially was not respecting what it means to really see the manual portions of it before the automated portions of it.
yeah, that
Right.
was interesting. When you mentioned that, I was thinking immediately, everybody that starts a business wants to go wide, right? They have the scale vision, right? Like what they want to accomplish. They have this big grand vision probably, but you have to go deep, it sounds like, to get things right before, because, or else, and this is where I think a lot of people are making mistakes on AI, and correct me if I'm wrong if you're seeing it differently, but people are basically not spending that upfront time like you're talking to get the systems right in the first place. So then when they scale it, what they're doing is multiplying and automating crap.
That's exactly
And
what's happening with AI right now, actually. So a lot of people aren't building the system and the skills for their AI to actually be something that is impressive, right? Yes, you can get foundations for sure through some systems, right? You can
Mhm.
ask it to build it for you. But what happened to all those folders of ideas you had beforehand?
Yeah.
Are you using them?
Mhm.
Are you leading with that?
Mhm.
Or are you leaving it behind because AI didn't tell you that it was part of the process?
Mhm.
You need to think through what that really looks like. And every time I take a look at, this AI process, I'm like, this is really great. This is interesting. But remember, we did this 6 years ago.
Mhm.
Where can we improve from 6 years ago?
Mhm.
Take the data from 6 years ago, dump it into the memory, then have AI set up the foundation from
Mhm.
those lessons in order to build something stronger.
Yeah.
But if you've never built before and you're relying strictly on AI to build for you, you're going to hit the wall the
Mhm.
moment the AI starts to hallucinate because you
Mhm.
won't know that it's hallucinating,
Right.
right? And
Mhm.
if you're going to be a leader in your company and in your industry, you need to be obsessed.
Mhm.
You need to be ready to be able to call the BS when you see it from
Yeah.
an AI. Like,
Mhm.
hey, no, no, that doesn't make any sense. I
Yeah.
know that this company just raised this much money in this automation and in this opportunity. This is how large the market is. Where'd you get the numbers?
Yeah.
You don't know that, and you're taking everything AI gives you for face value.
Yeah.
You're gonna look like an idiot.
Mhm.
Um, so I
Mhm.
say if you're going to use AI in order to build, make sure that you're doing the fundamental work to lead
Mhm.
because you're essentially leading your AI to keep you looking great, right? That's
Yeah.
how you're leading a team member. You
Mhm.
might as well give them a name, a persona. Like,
Right.
hey, this is Monica. She's on my team.
Mhm.
Here's how long she's been on my team. This is what she knows, right?
Mhm.
You need to start thinking about those processes when you start leading with technology and not just people.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because I think it's right for sure. A colleague that is really has been going deep in AI the last couple of years and helping a lot of leaders. He talks about that very thing. Like you have to look at this as leadership, and when you're engaging with AI. And I know even in some of my recent work with ChatGPT, it's been extremely helpful in so many ways. But there's been times where I'm like, I'll have to say, don't just appease me, right? Tell me where I'm missing something. Tell me what else you're seeing that I need to consider. And tell it, just like you said, like if somebody's working across the table from you, or or on a Zoom call or wherever, and you're saying, okay, this is all sounds good, but what else? What am I missing? What are we not covering? What's the gap here? And really massaging it and working through it, because I think a lot of people are assuming that all these AI tools are just going to be the be all end all and not miss anything. But like you said, they hallucinate. They try to make you happy. I mean, the tone of these tools, I'm like, quit being so nice. I'll even tell it that sometimes, it's like, quit being nice to me and help me challenge my thinking here. Right. And then it'll be like, yeah, you're definitely right. Here's what I think. And I'm like, you're doing it again. Right.
Yeah, like you definitely need to be aware of it. And then the other parts that people aren't thinking about when it comes to AI is the economics of it when you're in business and using it. If
Hmm.
you don't understand the models and the price points, then you're going to run through your credits quickly.
Hmm.
And you're going to run through your credits with things that you can't use.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to reevaluate every single time you use it.
Yeah.
And so I've been a consistent user of AI for about over a year now.
Hmm.
And it's been really interesting to watch what ChatGPT's been able to do versus Claude versus
Hmm.
Perplexity versus a Notebook LM and etc.
Hmm.
And I just think that people need to be more aware, not
Yeah.
fearful,
Yeah.
but more aware and dig in deeper into
Hmm.
what you think AI can do
Yeah.
in order for you to understand the true benefit and cost.
Hmm. So this AI conversation kind of also brings up another question I have is, when people seem to kind of always be looking for the missing ingredient to grow their organization, I think sometimes AI can be the thing they think they're gonna use, right? But what do you say to somebody who feels like there's this constant searching, like it's never, like I'm never, something's always missing, I guess. How have you navigated? Yeah, we need to continually grow and we need to be looking for new opportunities or new resources and things along the way. But how about people that are just, they don't know where to look. They don't know how to even really
Start.
take a step back, I guess, and really see if there's something truly missing or not.
I think that there is an awesome thing that exists with executive coaching that really helps out to flesh out some of those details. One, right? Entrepreneurship is lonely, right? So sometimes you're speaking to Spalding, the basketball. That's it.
Mhm.
That's all you have, right? And he can't say anything to you. Now you have AI who's talking to you, but can't really tell you when something's really wrong,
Yeah.
right? So there's still always going to be a human component. And I love when people get the chance to network and build
Mhm.
network and use that as an opportunity to think outside the box.
Mhm.
I don't think it's great to always use your team because there needs to be a barrier.
Yeah.
So I think executive coaching was key for me to
Mhm.
learn about what wasn't working and what wasn't working,
Mhm.
what was and what wasn't.
Yeah.
And then also depending on the vendors that I really wanted to work with, the accountant, the lawyers, and et cetera, to be
Mhm.
part of my roundtable, right?
Mhm.
Hey guys, I see that we've grown 35%. What kept us from growing to 60%?
Mhm.
And have everybody at the table to have this conversation without having my team of
Mhm.
executors at the table,
Yeah.
right? It's really being able to understand the difference
Okay.
and understanding those boundaries.
Mm. So it doesn't sound like you had a business background really when you started this venture, right?
None whatsoever. I was in development. I was raising capital for prostate cancer,
Okay.
but I did not have the background and sense of like, okay, I understand this accounting, or I can read this contract and really
Mhm.
comprehend what's going on here, or understanding intellectual property, or hiring someone outside my field,
Mm.
right? I did not have any type of technical experience outside of building the WordPress site. But what I did learn very quickly was that you need to hire people who are smarter than you,
Mm.
obviously.
Mhm.
But you also need to have the capacity to listen and learn.
Mhm.
It's not all about speaking, right? Half of the interviews I do have nothing to do with me speaking and
Mhm.
everything with me listening.
Mhm.
So that way I can discern what works and what doesn't work, especially when it comes to work style. So it's been one of those things of like, I've read all the business books, right? I was like, oh yeah, this is going to help me. This is going to help me. And the reality of everything that came to hit the head was that everybody's human and I need to be able to speak and connect,
Mm.
right? Speak and connect is important. If I don't have that ability to speak and connect,
Mhm.
I do not have the capacity to make revenue.
Mm.
That is key, right? When you think about when you're building your families and all that, it's not about what you could buy me or anything like that. It's about us being able to connect
Mhm.
and deciding that the trust between us is going to get us where we need to go.
Mm. That's good. So this podcast is all about becoming leaders people love to follow. And when you think about the leaders who have influenced you the most, what qualities stand out? What are the things that make you think back to the people that have, you know, helped you the most, influenced you the most, encouraged you, challenged you? What were the practices, and what would you encourage every leader to develop in their own journey?
I think back to my high school principal every time I think about where I am. His name was Mr. Strasato, and he stood outside the door and shook our hands every single day. And he asked us, what were we here to do? And we had to answer, we're here to learn. And then he said, what does it take? Courage, discipline, and perseverance.
Hmm.
And that was at the door for 4 years.
Wow.
Right? And when we left, we had to shake his hand and tell him what we learned for the day. He had everybody's lesson plan. So he actually knew
Wow.
what we were learning.
That's commitment.
Yeah. And when I think about that, I think about the framework and the structure he's built into me about everything I do.
Mm.
Everything I do requires discipline, courage,
Mm-hmm.
and perseverance. Doesn't matter if I became a business person or not, but that
Sure.
framework led to who I am now and how I think about leadership. Because when I think
Mm-hmm.
about the people I work with, am I giving them the courage to do something? Are they going to be able to persevere?
Mm-hmm.
Was I disciplined enough to listen to what they had to say?
Mm-hmm.
And using that to continually build, right? It's been great. And then I mean, there are the infamous ones that I really enjoy. What is it? The ex-CEO of Pepsi. I really like her story.
Mm-hmm.
And then a Shakespearean tragedy of leadership, I guess you can say. Kanye West.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate his ability to build a voice that
Mm-hmm.
empathized with his like community
Mm-hmm.
in order to build his revenues.
Mm-hmm.
But the same voice was what took him down.
Yeah.
So I
Mm-hmm.
think that, there are a lot of great examples. I
Mm-hmm.
just, as much as I think through leadership, I love it for what it is. It took me a long time to take in the title of CEO because I felt like being a CEO didn't allow me to be a change maker. It allowed me to jump into the machine,
Mm-hmm.
but didn't let me break the machine. And now I realize, hey, being a CEO will allow me to break the machine as long as I understand how to build my machine
Yeah.
without everything that everyone tells me I need.
Yeah. What's interesting you say that too, because I'm sure I don't have the exact phrase, but basically it was the idea that first you create the space and then the space creates you idea, right? Like, so
Mhm.
to that, it's like you build the machine and then it's like now you're beholden to the machine because of what you built to keep running the machine. And it's this vicious cycle, so I'm sure that a lot of people deal with that, right? Is how do I stay innovative? How do I stay entrepreneurial once I've built this thing? And so, especially when you get to a certain size where there's more people, there's more things that you can break that have bigger cost along the way and
Mhm.
impact. And so I appreciate you saying that, because you're right. That's probably like there's an internal journey that we as leaders have to go through to accept that role and what you have capacity to actually do, and goes back to your courage piece, I think, and discipline, right? You have to have the discipline to keep running what you've built, but then you also have the courage to make changes that need to be made along the way too.
Yeah, for sure.
Hmm. Well, Rika, thanks so much for this conversation. It's been great to hear your story and just great nuggets of insight and wisdom that you shared here. So, if people want to learn more about BeautyLynk or your Care in the Chair framework or just connect with you personally, what's the best way they can do that?
They can find me on Threads at Rica the CEO or on Instagram, Rica the CEO, the same thing.
Okay.
And they can see what I'm working on because, like right now, I'm just looking for votes so that way we can have Care in the Chair at South by Southwest in
Okay.
2027.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for doing this, and we will put those links in the show notes as well. And folks, if you want to reach out to Rika and definitely follow her journey and see what's coming up, and just it's an exciting thing to see and hear your story. I mean, it's also one of those things where even jumping from what you knew in your previous career right into this entrepreneurial world and what you've been able to build, I think that's probably going to inspire a lot of people today. So, thank you for sharing that.
No problem. Thank you, Chris, for having me.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to talking to y'all next time. And hey, go out there and be the leader that people really need, because we are in a world that desperately needs more influential, impactful leaders, and it can start with you. So take care, everybody, and we will see you next time.